Hey, this is Steven from LegitTechTutorials and welcome back to Beginning C++. So today we're going to talk about classes. Now classes is different as C did not have classes in C++. C had structs and C++ has classes and structs. So the bigger one to use is the object-oriented way, which is classes. So we're back here on our grade program here, and we're going to just go over briefly how to set up classes and how they are used. So let's go ahead and jump into how to create a class and then how to set it up. So first things first is you're going to want to have, let's just call this system. So as you see here, you basically just want to create the file type is called class. The type is called class. Okay, so that worked. And then you notice here at the end you want an in bracket and a semicolon. You need to have a semicolon to close the class. Alright, so what is a class? A class is something that you use to create objects. Now, if you've done Java, you've seen a lot of object examples. Basically, what an object is it's a container. So, for example, you have a container with certain types of characteristics, which are called class variables or instance variables. And then you could create multiple copies of that setup. So let's say, for example, you have a data, those kind of setups are called data structures. So let's say you have a data structure of a student, which we have here. Each of them have a grade level, an age, the GPA, the school they go to, first last name, ethnicity, this and that. So now let's say that you set all that up, have all those instance variables, have all the things for entering grades, signing up for a class, dropping a class, waitlisting a class, etc., etc., paying on your account. And then you could use that one template and create an infinite number of objects. And what are objects? Objects are a copy of that exact object, of that exact class, but each of them have different variables. So you could have one that's set up for Steve, one that's set up for Tom, one that's set up for Jack, one that's set up for Tiffany or whatever. So you could have individual variables stored inside of those objects. So that's the biggest thing about object-oriented programming. That's the most powerful. And that's where C comes in. And you could also do that with struct, but struct only contains values. Now what you could do inside of a class is you could use the class to hold functions, which the struct could not hold functions, it could only hold the variables. So the struct was useful that way, but this is even more useful because now we could mess around with those variables with the functions that are inside of the class. So you see here that we have our int grade nested inside of the class function, inside of the class. So we could mess with that. Now what you want to do is there are two different types of variables. There's public and private, and we are going to go over what they are later. First, we're just going to make everything public. So everything is public in there. And we could later create instance variables if you want. I mean, well, that's what these are. These are, you could pull these out. Pull them outside. Still works. Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and show you how to create an object. Now, creating an object is pretty simple. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go inside of your main. And let's go ahead and do that. So basically all we're going to do is we're just going to do a declare the object. So we're just going to say it's a system sys. And that's it. You create a new object of the type system, which you see are both blue. Actually, I don't know if that system G. Okay, so I guess it's not a reserved word, so we're safe. All right. So system sys, and then let's say we wanted to jump in here, and for whatever reason we have 4 and 3 here or whatever. So of course that's going to whack out our previous program, so you might want to get rid of that. So what we're going to do is we're just going to do a cout, and we're going to jump into sys, and we're going to pull that public variable classes. And now you'll notice here that when we jump in, well, why did I pull classes? Classes is the one with 0. Let's do GPA. Okay, so you see there it pulls a 3. So now all of our instance variables are located inside that class, and we can create multiple instances of that class. So let's say that we have system sys, and then we have another system and sys2. So let's go ahead and do, we're going to go into sys, and we're going to set that GPA is equal to 15. And you see there that allows us to do that. And you see that we are referencing to this as if it was a variable, even though it's a complete object with all that stuff stored inside. And then you'll also notice that you could do this. It won't really work too well. I mean, it would work. So for example, let's say, let me show this real quick. Grade. Let me show this really quick. I haven't showed this yet. So you notice that we could go in to that class and call that method to do all of our stuff. And you see there, of course, it's not going to do anything because I entered in an F. Whoopsies. Start without debugging. Okay. So, oops. So let's do like an A, B, C, D. And it's going to mess up the calculation, I think, because I entered in those grades wrong, because I gave them initial value. They're not supposed to have initial value. And also, I set it here after, so that totally definitely messes it up. Alright, so you notice that we could go in there and call that method. Now, let's say that we wanted... Alright, so we're going to copy and paste this guy. So now you notice that we have two copies that are completely independent of each other. They just have the same options inside. They have the same code. But if you'll notice here that they have two different variables stored in them. One for GPA has 15 and the other copy has 20. That is the biggest importance. You saw that we just had one set of coding instructions there, this one class. We had this one class, and we were able to create multiple objects of that and store those variables inside, separate of each one. So you can see the possibility of having something like a data structure of a student that has all that stuff that I explained previously, first, last name, etc., etc. So that's how they do it. Is they have a data oriented programming language, and they store all that data, all those separate copies for individual person or individual object, like they say, an individual object that are similar. Of course, humans are similar because the first name, last name, point of origin, etc., etc. Just like if you're creating, cars, products, currencies, whatever. So anything else? I mean, that is basically it. So here you see that we're referencing in. So here that's how we declared a new object. So system sys, and you see it turns like a turquoise color. That knows that it tells us that it's a class. And like I said, you need to make sure you have a semicolon. As you saw at the beginning, Visual Studio automatically did that for me. That formatting skill of IntelliSense, I guess it was called, something like that, is the engine it uses. Yeah, that's about it. So, and you see here that this is the operator. So it says, go, from system, go to GPA, get that value, and push 15 in there. And you see here, same thing, that if I wanted to call the method, I do sys.the grade. Now you saw a previous tutorial, I just did this. I just went here and I just called grade. Now, as you see there, it doesn't know where that is because you need an object. So if I just add sys there, then the grade works. And the grade works. And if I add sys2 there, the grade works as well. So also, what you'll see later is that we could go, is some of the other functions that we'll make will allow us to go into here and modify those values to the functions will modify the class values, those individual object values, rather than doing this. I mean, it does modify this, but we want to be able to see that. All right, so yeah, we're going to be continuing using classes. So first, I'm going to probably do a lot of more tutorials explaining the different portions like arrays, etc., etc. And then we'll go into more practice and we'll use classes a lot. But you see that it is a big help in doing a lot of our creating multiple objects, and it's the biggest thing that you want to get a hang of is classes and functions in C++ in order to become better and better programmer as you're getting started here and progressing through whichever language you want to learn. Alright, so this has been Steven from LegitTechTutorials, and if you don't quite get this, you will later on. We'll use it a lot. We'll use it very heavily. If you like this tutorial, please subscribe for more tutorials like it in this series and other series as well. If you have any questions, email me. The link to the book is in the description, and thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next video. Peace.